All right, so circles, day 2. Okay. So today I got the feeling on Monday that we were okay with graphing off of the equation. So I'm going to go to the next topic, which would be going backwards, writing the equations of circles, and then tomorrow we'll deal with tangents of circles. Okay? Tangents are lines that only touch a circle in one spot. And we'll talk about that more tomorrow. Okay? So today we're going to be writing the equations of circles. So I remind you that the equation of a circle is quantity x minus h squared plus quantity y minus k squared is equal to r squared. Okay? So that is the equation of a circle. That's what we're going to be getting to today. We're going to make that equation today in that particular form. Okay? We don't have to expand out on that, multiply out the parentheses, etc., etc., etc. And we can just leave it just like that. And that will be enough for us. Okay? So, write the equation of the circle with the center at and a radius of. Okay? These are the entry level, I think would be the way to say it, entry level problems for this section. Okay? So we've got an equation, we've got a circle, or we need to find the equation of the circle given the radius. Okay? So we would say here then that this would be h, this would be k, and this would be r. Right? So our equation is going to be x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. Okay. So that's going to be x minus 3 quantity squared plus y minus negative 2. We don't like to write minus a negative. We write it as plus, so that one changes over to plus. Equals what? What is that equal to? 5, because we have to square the square root of 5. So the square root of 5 squared is 5, so then this would equal 5. And that's all right. Okay. Entry level type stuff. Okay. I didn't think I did another entry level. Just kind of scroll down and sometimes I bury examples down at the bottom. Love it. Okay. So, one of the things that's going to come into play for us is, and we got to remember it back, and I don't remember where you first saw it, if it was in algebra or if it was in geometry, but the distance formula. So, if we have 2 points, now I'm going to leave it up to you guys. Do you want the true 2 points that you're given are x sub 1, comma y sub 1, and x sub 2, comma y sub 2. But those can get kind of confusing. Do you want me to switch it over to A's, B's, C's, and D's? Or 2 X's and 2 Y's? A, B, C, D? Okay. So we'll be given 2 points, A, comma, B, and C, comma, D. Okay? You probably saw it originally as but I always thought that that was confusing this way. So we won't do it that way. So the distance formula is, it's a big square root, and I take the x components, I subtract and square. Subtract first, then square. I add to that the y components, subtract and square. Okay. Subtract the x's squared, subtract the y squared, add them together, take the square root. And that's the distance. Distance between 2 points. Now it doesn't matter which point you use first. Okay? So we could also say here that this would be going to get us the same thing. Okay? So either one of those. The reason that that comes into play today is because the radius of a circle is the distance from the center of the circle to any point on the circle. So the second tier of problems is going to be, here is the center, here is a point that the circle goes through, find me the radius, or find me the equation of the circle. Okay? So the first thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to first find the radius. So you're going to have to first find the radius using the distance formula. Okay? So r here would be equal to big square root of 0 minus 2 quantity squared plus 0 minus negative 4 quantity squared. Okay? Where we could say this is A, this is B, this is C, and this is D. Okay. So we have here negative 2 quantity squared plus 4 squared. Negative 2 squared is 4. 4 squared is 16. So this is going to be the square root of 20. Now, normally I would have you simplify that. And if I was asking, if the question asked, what is the radius, I would have you simplify that to 2 square roots of 5. But what are we going to do with the radius in the equation? Or to find the equation, what are we going to do with the radius? We're going to square it. So it doesn't pay to simplify it only to square it again. Okay, when we can just square it right from there. Okay? And so then the second thing that we do is now we use the center and r in our equation. Okay? So our center is the origin, and not this one. This isn't the center. This one over here. That one's the center. Okay? So this one would be 10. So it would be x minus 0, so we could just call that x squared, plus y minus 0, we can call that just y squared then, equals r squared, the square root of 20 squared is 1. And there's the equation of the circle through the center with that radius. What was that? No. No. That's the answer right there. Yep. The squaring here canceled out, oops, that radical right there. Yeah. But that's the only thing that gets canceled out. Okay? You try, again, center of the origin, but now through point B. Center still at the origin, but now we've got to come up with a radius. We'll go in the other order this time. 5 minus 0 quantity squared plus negative 12 minus 0 quantity squared is going to be 5 squared plus negative 12 squared. That's going to be 25 plus 144, which is going to be the square root of 169. Which we could, if you wanted to write it as 13, that's fine. It is a perfect square. Okay? But we can just leave it just like that. Okay? So then x squared, really x minus 0. It's really y minus 0, so we're going to call it y squared, is going to equal 169. Yes? No? Maybe. What's up? I prefer 169. Yeah, because then because then I don't want you to fall into the trap of like 4.5 squared. You know what I mean? So actually square those numbers up. Okay? Love it. The last tier is very much similar to the ones that we were just doing, except now the center is not at the origin. So there's one little tweak, but otherwise it's done exactly the same way. Find the radius, make the equation. Okay? Yeah? Try this one. So, radius is going to be the square root of 2 minus 5 quantity squared plus negative 4 minus negative 12 quantity squared. So that's going to be what we got here, negative 3 quantity squared plus 8 squared. So that's 9 plus 64, which is 73. So we've got the center at 2 comma negative 4. We've got a radius of the square root of 73. So that would give me x minus 2 quantity squared plus y plus 4 quantity squared equals 70. Agreed? Need me to do another one, or you think you're good? So on the green sheet, this week's homework sheet, week 30's worksheet, on the green sheet, you should be able to now complete numbers 1 through 10. 1 through 10.